I didn't want a service dog to participate in my wedding. My sister Amy called me 3 weeks before my wedding day with what she thought was great news. She'd just gotten approved for a service dog named Duke to help with her anxiety attacks. I was happy for her, really. Amy had been struggling since our dad died last year and could barely leave the house without having panic attacks. But then she casually mentioned that Duke would be coming to the wedding as her +1. I felt my stomach drop. I'd already sent out invitations, planned the seating chart, and coordinated everything down to the last detail. Adding a 60-pound golden retriever to the mix seemed like a recipe for disaster. I tried to be supportive, but explained that dogs weren't allowed at the venue. Amy got quiet and said Duke wasn't just a pet, he was medical equipment. She said legally, service dogs could go anywhere their handler went, including weddings. I panicked and called the venue coordinator, Lisa, who confirmed that they had to allow service animals by law, but she also warned me that Duke would need to stay right next to Amy during the ceremony, which meant he'd be visible in all the photos since Amy was my maid of honor. I kept imagining Duke barking during my vows or knocking over the wedding cake. What if he got excited and jumped on my dress? What if other guests brought their pets thinking it was okay? I was having nightmares about my perfect day turning into chaos. I called Amy back and suggested maybe she could take some medication instead of bringing Duke. She got really hurt and said I clearly didn't understand how service dogs worked. She explained that Duke could sense when her anxiety was building and would do specific tasks to help her calm down, but I was stressed about everything going wrong. I asked if maybe her boyfriend could handle her anxiety for one day. Amy started crying and said I was being selfish. She hung up on me. My mom called the next day saying Amy was devastated and considering not coming to the wedding at all. She said I was being discriminatory and that Amy needed Duke more than I needed perfect photos. I felt terrible but also frustrated. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and now I was worried about managing a dog I'd never met. The week of the wedding, I finally decided to meet Duke properly. I drove to Amy's apartment expecting some big, unruly beast. Instead, I found this calm, gentle dog wearing a special vest who sat perfectly still while Amy introduced us. Amy showed me what Duke actually did. When she started getting anxious just talking about the wedding, Duke immediately moved closer and put his head on her lap. She said he could tell when her heart rate increased and would do pressure therapy to help her breathe normally. I watched Duke work and realized I'd been completely wrong. This wasn't some random pet who might cause problems. This was a highly trained medical assistant who might be the only reason Amy could attend my wedding at all. I apologized and asked Amy to teach me Duke's commands so I could help if needed. She started crying happy tears and said she'd been so scared I'd uninvite her. The wedding day came, and Duke was absolutely perfect. He walked down the aisle next to Amy like he'd been practicing for months. During the ceremony, he laid quietly at her feet, completely invisible unless you were looking for him. But the best part happened during my dad's memorial moment. We'd planned to light a candle for him, and Amy always got emotional when we talked about Dad. Right when I saw her starting to tear up, Duke stood up and gently leaned against her legs. Amy was able to get through the moment without having a panic attack. She even gave the most beautiful maid of honor speech about family and support. The photographer got some amazing shots of Amy and Duke together that I'll treasure forever. And 3 different guests asked about getting service dogs for their own family members. Duke even caught the bouquet when Amy missed it completely.